Boys and girls, it is day 3, week 5 of our math. So we've been learning about different properties for multiplication and division, and today we're just going to review the distributive property, the associative property, and the commutative property. Review. So identify the property of multiplication shown in each of these examples. I'll give you some time to look at them. So which property would this one be? These are my 3 choices: associative, commutative, and distributive. So hopefully you're noticing that these two, they did a switch from each other. So which one is it then whenever we just switch our factors? All we've done is switch the factors. Hopefully you're thinking commutative. Oh, this one we have 45 times 6 equals the same thing as 40 plus 6 plus 5 times 6. And I'm hoping that you're looking at that big number 45 and going, well, they broke it down into 40 plus the 5. So this must be the distributive because we have the times 6 on each end over here. Oops, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to hit that. And then we have 6 times 7 times 2 equals the same thing as 6 times 2 times 7. And that one would be the associative. It doesn't matter what order we're going to multiply these in when we have 3 or more factors. Today your objective is I can apply the distributive, the commutative, the associative, the zero, and the identity properties of multiplication. I want to talk about zero and identity multiplication as well. So whenever you have zero property of multiplication, it means that you are going to multiply a 0 times any number, and you're still going to just get 0. No matter how big my number is, well, I won't change, I'll change that one to 3. Times 0 means that I have 0 groups of 2,433. It means I don't have anything. I have none. So I still have a 0. That's the zero property. And the identity property of multiplication means that I'm going to multiply 1 times any number, and it's going to end up being that number that I multiplied the 1 by. So 1 times 244 is still just going to be that number, 244. It does not change it at all. So those are the 2 easiest properties. The 0, which means I'm multiplying by 0, it still equals 0. Identity property means that I'm multiplying by 1, and I still am going to end up with the number that I multiplied the 1 by. It won't change it. So what are the properties of multiplication and division, and how can you use them to solve the multiplication and division problems? So this is the same questions that we've been asking all throughout this week so far. What are the properties of multiplication and division, and how do you determine which property to use? What models can help you represent the properties of multiplication and division, and how do these properties apply to both multiplication and division? So let's review. The distributive property allows me to break up a bigger factor into smaller numbers. When I multiply and add, I get the same answer. So example is 45 times 6. First, we break the bigger number up by place value. So this bigger number is going to get broken up by place value. 40 plus 5 still equals 45. Then I'm going to bring that times 6 over here on the outside of my parentheses. Then I'm going to distribute the times 6 to each part of my addition problem. So I've got the times 6 over here, the times 6 on this side. So remember, we're making 2 sets of parentheses with the plus sign in the middle, and I'm putting the times 6 on each side. Then I'm going to bring my 40 and put it in one parenthesis and my 5 into the other parenthesis. Okay, I'm solving for each part. So I've got 240 is my answer here, and then I've got the plus 5 times 6 is 30. Add those up together and you end up with 270. So 45 times 6 is 270. That's distributive. The commutative property states that when two factors are multiplied, that means two of our numbers, the answer is the same regardless of the order. That's the one where we can switch. So I have 6 times 4. And there's my array to show you 6 times 4. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows, and 1, 2, 3, 4 in each row. Or I could switch my factors and get 4 times 6. I'll have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in each row. I still get the same answer, 24 for both of those. And then our other one, the associative property states that the product does not change when 3 or more factors are multiplied. So we have 2 times 5 times 8. I can multiply the first two numbers, 2 times 5 first, and then the times 8. Or I could multiply the last two and get 5 times 8 first, and then times 2. And then here we had a switch so that way we could get one inside of there. We have 2 times 8 first, times 5. That way everything's getting multiplied. 2 times 5 equals 10. Bring down my times 8. And I get 80. 8 times 10 is 80. 5, 40. Bring down my times 2. Or 2 times, and that equals 80. 2 times 8 is 16. Times 5, bring it down. I'm going to break my 16 up into 10 plus 6, and here's my times 5. 2 sets of parentheses with the plus in the middle, times 5 on each right side. Then I put my 10 in here, my 5 in there, or my 6 in this one. Multiply that out. 10 times 5 is 50. 6 times 5 is 30. Add those together, and you guessed it, I've got 80 with every single one of those. And it's interesting when you look at the beginning how they're all different. And then in the end, when we get all the way to the bottom, we're the same product. So the zero property states that any number multiplied by 0 is 0. So I've got this huge, huge, huge number, 3,491,843 times 0 still equals 0. Doesn't matter how big it is. The identity property states that any number multiplied by 1 is the other number. It's the other number, not the 1, it's the other number. So 12 times 1 is 1. Oops, so I don't know if you can see that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 rows. There's 1 in each row. And I have still 12. The identity property. Associative, commutative, distributive. The zero, and the identity property. These are all of our properties. Oops, identify this property. I have 54 times 0. Which one of these is going to be that property? Well, I see that there's a 0, so I hope you're thinking that it's going to be the 0 property. It is. Anytime we multiply by 0, it's the 0 property, and the answer, our product, is 0. Identify this property. Associative, commutative, distributive, 0, identity. Here's the problem. 6 times 8 equals 8 times 6. You guessed it, we switched our factors around, and now we have the commutative property. We have the same answer. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows, 8 in each one. Here we have 8 rows, 6 in each one, and we get the same answer of 48. Did not change my answer. My product has not been changed. Identify this property. Oh, 65 times 3 it's been broken up by place value. 60 plus 5 times 3 brought down. Then I'm going to take and put 2 sets of parentheses with the plus sign times 3. Bring my 60 here, bring my 5 over here. I'm going to multiply these two to get 180 plus multiply these two to get the 15, add them together, and I get 195. Which property is that one? Distributive. Good job. Okay, I have my properties, and my problem is 4 times 5 times 9 equals the same thing as 9 times 4 times 5. And when I multiply that all out, I end up getting 45 times 4 equals the same thing here. I get 36 times my 5. When I add that up, I get 180 on this side and 180 on that side. They're equal to one another. And so this property would be the associative property. So I've got 3 factors, and it didn't matter which grouping I multiplied by first. Okay, and what's this property? I have 54 times 1. So hopefully you're thinking that's the identity property. When we multiply by 1, we get the other number. So here's our closure. Using the distributive property, solve 38 times 4. Go ahead and pause, and then you can try and solve it, and then we'll see if you get the same answer as I get. Okay, I broke down my 38, made it by place value, and made it 30 plus 8 times 4. 2 sets of parentheses with the plus sign in the middle, times 4, times 4. I'm going to put my 30 on this side and my 8 over here. Now I'm going to multiply these together. I'm going to add them. And I get 152. So this is the distributive property. All right, boys and girls, have a great week. Make sure you get on Study Island and you work on your practice for the different properties of multiplication and division. Thank you.